Have you seen this video? One video, wait, maybe I show video. You have to see that video. I'm very certain someone who saw video. Very, very interesting video. Boy, let's just go and watch the video. Share video.
O João Pedro que eu sempre sonhei na posição em tá representando meu país, tá num grande clube na Inglaterra, que sempre foi meu sonho jogar lá desde pequeno. Eu acho que eu tô muito tranquilo com tudo que eu venho vivendo, porque, como você falou, meu começo no Fluminense foi bom, mas depois eu tive essa passagem no Watford, joguei a segunda divisão. Para muitos, eu era louco, porque eu vinha bem no Fluminense, saí muito jovem, mas eu acredito que eu fiz o caminho certo. No final, deu tudo certo, tô no Chelsea, tô na seleção, confiante, feliz, e eu acho que é só o começo de uma história linda que tá por vir pela frente, não só com a camisa da seleção, mas também com a camisa do...
Right, that is essentially Joao Pedro, Chelsea for new center forward, literally telling the world, say, they haven't seen anything, nothing have they seen with respect to the quality. There are lots more that I want to talk about as on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. Of course, Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. So subscribe to the channel now. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notification. In the notification turning on, do choose all, just so anytime that there is content, you are first to hear it on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. This place is our best place of football tactical analysis, pre-match analysis, post-match analysis, everything. And yes, everybody that was on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. So just make sure that you subscribe and enjoy analysis. Also, every day, your bet codes available to you in the description of the video. Every day, your bet codes are on. Once you come in and then you enjoy the analysis, you get bet codes to go in and then go and get some good wins. Greens, maybe I was on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. There is a big team that sits back, do the analysis, and enjoy. Make sure some people are going to win. Before we go on and talk about it, let me first of all say a very, very big thank you to the people who have made this show possible. Two very, very solid people. First off, a Sumo spare parts dealership shop. Sumo spare parts dealership shop. He has been instrumental to everything that we do over here. And trust me, say a car spare parts pan out Pedro, Michelle, just contact Sumo spare part dealership shop. They will do the job for you. They will do the magic for you. Almost solid in terms of have the correct cars, latest cars, the spare parts. Who say if you want to cars, no, they have more imitation. But Sumo gives you the correct ones. That's what Sumo gives you. Michelle, if you're in a crowd at a Boso Kanya, post office, go there and go and reach out to Sumo. They will do a good job for you. But if you are not in Accra, let's say you are far from Accra, he does what he calls the nationwide delivery. Just call him on 059 313 8221. 059 313 8221. Michelle, just call Sumo and make sure saying in the next few hours and stuff like that. Of course, there is what we call MOB clothing. MOB clothing is the greatest in terms of clothes. And I don't pay that many top guy when it comes to entire on sample correct one or holiday be Charlie, you want to look dapper, MOB clothing will get a job done for you. Or more to do at a flower station will to do anytime you want anything clothes entire shirt, trousers, shorts, slippers, belt. See everything clean to make you look nice. MOB clothing and a baby armor. He's saying that a lot of you have been coming. Keep on going there to MOB clothing. Catch your mommy. Can I catch your Gerald? Say Manfred and I said, bro. When you go there, they'll take very good care of you. If you are not in a car, so open wholesale, open retailer, I'm best send them everything that you need. I'm best send them. Michelle, call them on 0200 668 708. 0200 668 708. Call MOB clothing now. Na bibia enya kama pa and farmer on that side. It's very important that we do get that done out of the way. And I was telling you about that video. See, I don't know if some of you have seen the story of Joao Pedro. Meaning, some movie at a story of Joao Pedro, no story that. And I said, maybe some of you have not heard the story of Joao Pedro. So Joao Pedro essentially is a boy that was born in the Fiifi-Manfred or Brazil. And he was born to Nepapana. He was a footballer in Brazil, one of the best footballers at his time in Brazil. But his father was arrested on charges on aiding of murder. Apparently, he was an accessory to murder. So then Joao Pedro, when he grew up, didn't really see his father because his father was in prison for a very long time. I guess somewhere around 10 to 18 years thereabouts. And then the papa were in prison. So his father used to play for Fluminense. He also went through the ranks, went to play for Fluminense, and then of course went there. Now, Joao Pedro, obviously, everybody knows, he has broken into the ranks as one of the best Chelsea players since the Club World Cup. And everybody knows the story about Joao Pedro. In fact, or a little bit erratic, Kakra. From his days at Brighton and Hove Albion, a lot of people who knew him will say, Akwano na kuma ben. One shade here, he may be angry and he will react. To the extent that before Chelsea signed him, Enzo Maresca had to reach out to the former manager Roberto Di Zerbi and ask Di Zerbi, say, bro, you are Italian, I'm Italian. There is a young Brazilian boy in your former squad that we want to buy. Do you think, that boy, when he comes in, he will help me? And the temperament issues, there's not going to be too much of a worry. According to Enzo Maresca, when he contacted Roberto Di Zerbi told him point blank, said, yes, he has his issues, but this is the boy that you, Enzo Maresca, can manage. So get him in, and I trust that you'll be able to manage him. And that's exactly what Chelsea did in bringing in Abrantia, your friend Joao Pedro. But that is not a story. That is not a story we are talking about now. Everybody knows. Since time as Joao Pedro, Ebabe take over the reins as Chelsea for main guy when he won. In fact, it was off the back of Nicolas Jackson's undurability. Said Chelsea for don't want to count on him. But anytime you want Nicolas Jackson, now say Nicolas Jackson ain't sheda and funny who she game making mistakes, being it was affecting Nicolas Jackson's performance, and of course Joao Pedro came. So Joao Pedro and Liam Delap got a chance to play for Chelsea Football Club at the Club World Cup because Nicolas Jackson had gotten a red card against him, your friend Flamingo Club World Cup, and that is where Joao Pedro began to play. 2 goals against the former club Fluminense, scoring again in the World Cup, the Club World Cup final, and establishing himself as a name, a big one for that matter, at Chelsea Football Club, and everywhere that everybody will speak about him. And Brandt, friend Joao Pedro has been a household name. He has gotten his first Brazilian call-up in a long time. Let's watch the video again. Yeah, so essentially, Joao Pedro goes on and says that, like, Niemana who say AC or Chelsea now, Obieka say, oh, me a top player, meaning born sani money. He wants to let everybody understand, say, like, it is literally just the beginning of what is going to happen for him. See, in life, there is a long road to the top for Joao Pedro, and he says it. Or say, he moved from Fluminense at a young age to Watford as a very young boy. And Kofoka say, I didn't think I may make his step into the lower divisions of England at that age because boy, really a very good player. Why don't you take your time and then maybe Madrid more any Barcelona money at the other will come and take you away from Brazil. He said that people thought it was a wrong decision, but he went there. He learned his trade. He understood what he needed to get as a player, and then now he's getting the best. Now he goes and say that this is exactly where he belongs. Also, when he said this day was always going to come, and he has belonged at this place at the very time. See, he spoke in Portuguese, but then in that conversation, it was in subtitles over there. And for me, just if you listen to that, it was clear exactly what Joao Pedro says. And he says that everybody is yet to see him because he's only getting started. And also not just for the Brazilian national team, even for Chelsea. Whatever anybody sees on Joao Pedro, he is going to go to the very top. Or cut to the very top. He's going to be one of the best players out from Brazil to play in English Premier League or wherever. I think that's interesting. That is interesting when it comes to Abantia, the friend of Joao Pedro. And then it's surprising, say, SofaScore Premier League Team of the Week 2 times in a row. Joao Pedro has been there. And people have not realized this. Joao Pedro has 2 corner kicks, 2 headers from corner kicks in 2 games. And all of them were times where it was very, very difficult for Abrantia, friend of Joao Pedro, team and friend of Chelsea Football Club. Around the times that Joao Pedro has scored all of those 2 goals for Chelsea Football Club, all of those times Chelsea were in a very, very difficult position and they needed somebody to step up and get the job done. And that's exactly what Abrantia, the friend of Joao Pedro, for Chelsea Football Club. Joao Pedro is in the Brazilian national team. He seems to be getting things right and things are going on well for him. Nicolas Jackson has spoken, has spent 2 seasons at Chelsea and scored 30 goals without taking penalties. I don't think any striker has scored more than that for Chelsea since Diego Costa. And that is true. I mean, I think I've said it several times. And Nicolas Jackson puts it in his words where every day I see this. Not even Didier Drogba, like non-penalty goals in his first 2 seasons as a club. 30 in 2 seasons. That is huge for Abranti Pedro and Nicolas Jackson. And everything showed that he was always going to develop. He was always going to get better. Of course, he had to move. Chelsea had to move on because that was the thing. And one of the things that is coming up in terms of behind the scenes issues of Chelsea transfer policy that a lot of people do not know is that when you say when Chelsea it got to the point and they had to call back Nicolas Jackson to get back into the team and then make sure say Jackson, of course, baby Anna Liam Delap any injury when they needed to make a decision. Of course, I'm gonna catch you buying for it. If truly you say you like a branch of Nicolas Jackson, then make sure that you pay up for him and then so that he becomes your number one striker. He becomes the player that you want him to be there. And Bayern for at that point in time were obviously pulling themselves around. Then Chelsea told Nicolas Jackson that go back and go and tell them that if they truly want you, let them pay the money up for you. And this morning I was reading to you Ali Barat's agency, when they put out a statement saying that the total fee for Nicolas Jackson is going to be somewhere around 81 million in euros for Manchester Nicolas Jackson. That is good business for Chelsea Football Club. Now, apparently, when Chelsea had to either go in onto the market for Conor Harder, or any other striker, one idea about even with respect to the conversation around Alexander Isak, was that they felt that there is a boy at RCD Strasbourg, or what the potential to be a top striker in the world. And going onto the market to go and bring in another 40, 50, 60 million striker will literally be blocking the growth of Abrantia Mekanawase. And the boy is Abrantia friend Emmanuel Emega. And Obi will follow Strasbourg and the Liam Rosseno, Chelsea team in France. You will know the quality of Abrantia, your friend Emmanuel Emega. In fact, when you talk about strikers in the mode of Alexander Isak, Hugo Ekitike, one of the things that you talk about is the fact that whilst they are very clinical in the box, whilst they are good in that regard and getting in behind and spaces in behind, one of the things that's good with them is that almost very athletic bodies. So they are tall, they are long, they have longer lengths, they can run, they have the pace and stuff like that. But one of the things that people hardly speak about is the ball carrying of some of these players. But they kind of ball and they know how to play. How many ball? Whether they have to receive the ball in half 10, they should take the ball and run at you. And Ekitike is probably one of the best molds of that style of play. And that is the kind of player Chelsea see in Abrantia friend Emmanuel Emenega. And that was probably the reason why when it came to making a decision on buying another striker or letting McGill come in, somebody who they believe has length the trade and Enzo Maresca and was going to be better, they decided, okay, fine, let us bring in Abrantia McGill and then make sure that we wait and then see when Abrantia Emmanuel Emenega will be able to come. So that essentially is that tactical dark side behind the scenes strategy of Chelsea's transfer window. And I think that is brilliant. It is very, very smart in bringing Abrantia friend Emmanuel Emenega to come in that regard. Chelsea did an interview before Abrantia friend Marc Cucurella was able to leave, come to go and join the Spanish national team. And very, very interesting news about what he has been speaking about the strength of the Spanish La Liga. I mean, this argument is an argument that I personally have been advancing for a very, very long time. For a long time, I've been telling a lot of people, say, when it comes to you talking about what the English Premier League gives its teams and what the Spanish La Liga gives its teams now, it is very, very clear. And Marc Cucurella put it succinctly over here. Cucurella said, when I arrived in England at my first team there, which was Brighton, I was surprised that English players were aiming to play for Madrid or Barcelona, not Arsenal or Chelsea. That's when I realized the appeal of Real Madrid and Barcelona, that they have fans all over the world. Real Madrid and Barca may not have the financial means of the Premier League teams and can't afford to pay such huge contracts, but their history and reputation allow them to sign very good players. And I think that when it comes to the appeal of Madrid, I mean, look at Obidze. Eden Hazard. When Eden Hazard wanted to leave Chelsea, it was not about money. Essentially, it was about pedigree, where he felt that, okay, there is the biggest and the greatest name in terms of world football, in terms of European even dominance. And as a European from Belgium, Madrid was always going to give him that pedigree that he desired as a player on his next level. Wabama Chelsea, Wabaji Europa League, Wabaji League, in paying and Chaji Champions League, Wanyeska, all of those things. But one thing that he had not gotten was probably the allure of Real Madrid, the attraction of Real Madrid, what Madrid brings to him as a player. That is something that maybe he didn't get from Madrid for, and definitely he needed to make sure that was going to be done and done right. And Marco Correa goes on. Correa goes on and says that I think the distribution of money in England is greater. He goes on and says that, for example, the teams that are promoted get a lot of money, and in the end, that means all teams can sign great players, and that's even out of the league. That's why every game in the Premier League is a battle. Sunderland, who just got promoted, have invested 200 million euros in players, and Crystal Palace have signed two of La Liga's best players, like Yeremi and then Uche, over there for them. That's something that should fix. That they should fix, because La Liga is falling a little further behind the Premier League, and that's the driving players to England to play. And I think that Marco Correa makes excellent arguments over why La Liga have been falling off. And I've constantly mentioned this to my friends who are big fans of the Spanish La Liga. Say, when constantly people say that the English Premier League clubs are spoiling they're spoiling the transfer market, any league now, I go back and I tell them that, see, the distribution of money in the English Premier League, yes, you can say that they have more money from TV rights and whatnot, but in terms of distribution, it is distributed evenly. In fact, even the lower clubs get good money too. At Spain, essentially, it's Madrid and Barcelona that command a chunk, or I mean, a handful of almost all the money that goes through the Spanish La Liga, and then very little goes through the rest of the clubs. So the other clubs can't really compete with Barcelona and Real Madrid. You can't pay the fees that Madrid and Barcelona pay for. And again, if you look at even the conveyor belt of Barca on my academy, and how much is able to bring very young talent from other parts of Spain, called the Gran Canary Islands and Las Palmas, Pedro, then they go to Real Betis Bompe, Femi Lopez, when they are 12 and 10 years old, to groom them a la Masia and essentially make them like Catalans. And they want to play for Barcelona. And that is the thing. My friend is saying, Madrid cannot compete, and the Spanish La Liga cannot compete with the English Premier League because of this. That is where they fall short in terms of our competition. But be able to change things, then definitely I think things are going to go. Michael Dawson has spoken on a branch of and Liam Delap. Now, say, I just think the value and the price and the player that you are getting for 30 million and Liam Delap is very good. And I think I've said it several times that maybe most Chelsea fans will not see the importance of, and somebody will ask a question, between Liam Delap and Joao Pedro, who probably is Chelsea's most important attacker. Utie, what Michael Dawson echoed. Michael Dawson is saying that if you look at the price of Liam Delap and the kind of player that you get, it's like you go into the market and then you are getting an M4 MacBook, I mean, correct spec and everything, 2025 model, for the price of an M1, for the price of a 2019 model. So it literally tells you that you've gotten a quality player for little. And if you look at what the likes of Daniel Sturridge are also saying about Joao Pedro, it's about the impact nearby and what he has been able to do. And the fact that you don't see the guy slowing down. He goes on, Michael Sturridge said that, Daniel Sturridge, he says, I just love the signing of Joao Pedro, someone who I think will score a lot of goals for Chelsea. And Daniel Sturridge, formerly who has played for Chelsea and Liverpool, goes and says a lot of goals. He says that Joao Pedro will score a lot of goals, and he thinks our branch friend Joao Pedro will score a lot of goals when it comes to players now. Chelsea are signing him on, and he's very, very certain things are going to go on in that regard for our branch friend in Chelsea. So I want to know, is it Joao Pedro, or for you, Liam Delap, and I say Joao Pedro, who amongst all of these Chelsea players now, and I have the impact, that you expected that we're going to have among the team. Has he been around here? The friend Joao Pedro, or he has been somebody else, or today, all of them, Brazil training session, one of Mr. Willian, and Joao Pedro, and you can see that they are living the dream, and Chelsea have been able to do that. There have been some quotes Anchor focus Chelsea for owner your friend Todd Bowley has gone on and has told a brand here has done an interview and has mentioned said Jadon Sancho no to crying question a girlfriend near the other, and that is why Chelsea did not sign him. Apparently they've come out to debunk it, said Todd Bowley has not made any of such interview in Italy. He has not spoken to anybody in Italy to say anything like that. He has been clear, said he has not spoken about star player about friend Jadon Sancho. Chelsea have not done that at all. We'll see how things are going to be on when it comes to exactly what Chelsea want to say about Abrante friend Jadon Sancho in that regard. We'll see how that conversation on breaking news. Chelsea UEFA Champions League squad no out. Chelsea's UEFA Champions League squad no out. Sanchez, Jorgensen, Kukurea, Tosin Adrabio, Benoit Belashili. Miria, tell me who you didn't hear from. Tell me who you didn't hear from. Sanchez, Jorgensen, Kukurea, Tosin, Badiashile, Cowell, Hato, Chaloba, James, Gusto, Fofana, Fernandes, Palmer, Giddens, Esugo, Santos, Caicedo, Neto, Delap, Joao Pedro, Maguire, Estevao, Alejandro Garnacho. Who I'm not seeing is Facundo Buonanotte assistant. I'm not seeing the name of Facundo Buonanotte. I've not seen the name of Romeo Lavia when it comes to the names of the players now. Chelsea for as I met we are going to look into why those ones are on. I'm going to also pull up the data of where all of those ones have gone to when it comes to Chelsea for transfer. I'm UEFA list normally band because UEFA Champions League right after the international break, you have one league game up. There's going to be a very, very big one away at the Bayern Bay. It's not even the Bay Arena. It's not at the Bay Arena. Chelsea are going to play at home at the Allianz Arena. Of course, Champions League, they call it the Allianz Arena where Chelsea are going to play in, and it's a full squad on Garnacho Diwom, but there is no Facundo Buonanotte. We'll see who's going to on Chelsea for saying said who should be the Chelsea player of the month. Is it going to be Estevao, Abrantia Yefreno, Joao Pedro, Cole Palmer, Abrantia Yefreno, Joshua Kofi Champon, and as Abrantia Yefreno Moses Kai. So I think that this one automatically goes to Joao Pedro as the player of the month. I think he has been brilliant, very, very brilliant for Chelsea for throughout the season. He has been very, very good in that regard, and you will give him the credit for it. I mean, for everything that he has been able to achieve since he got Chelsea, he is the player of the month. Nearly all Chelsea summer recruits have made their UCL A-list, suggesting they did make a positive transfer in the balance. The only player not included is Facundo Buonanotte. I think that Chelsea have plans to add Facundo Buonanotte to the plan B. We'll look at why Chelsea for M for Brantia, your friend of Facundo Buonanotte, M for the plan B list, but we'll see exactly how that is going to look like when it comes to Chelsea for Champions League score. We see Champions League area very, very, very interesting. Right after the international break, we didn't come on. We'll talk about the games, we'll analyze the games for you. But of course, I forgot to tell you, say your first teaser out on the Four Post podcast. Formerly, the handle that I made you subscribe to, that is the Fiifi-Manfred Sports Analysis 2. It's also called the Four Post podcast. And many of my colleagues come here. We'll have a segment on it. There are going to be other shows. There are going to be reactions from TV rooms around Kumasi. And of course, KNUST companies are going to be on. There are going to be some younger journalists who also want to do analysis that also come on. They have a segment also on their show who come in and talk about sports. And these are usually from guys from in and around KNUST who also come in. If you are a graphic designer, you are good enough, you can reach out to us on my mail, which is on my Twitter bio. Preferably, we want you to be in Kumasi to hopefully bring you on the team. And of course, if you're also a quality guy in terms of analysis and stuff like that, you want to join the team, we also have that segment for you, or say on Fiifi-Manfred YouTube. Yes, sure. Subscribe to the channel. Now, we'll be able to go in that regard. Of course, La Liga Player of the Month, Lamine Yamal, has been nominated as La Liga Player of the Month. Now, I think that is also very positive power from Barcelona for them to nominate Lamine Yamal as the La Liga Player of the Month. Lamine's impact Pedri goal against Levante has been nominated as La Liga's goal of the month. That was such a beautiful goal from Pedri inside game. And Barca struggled against team of Levante. But of course, the Barca team showed heart. They showed grit. They showed the ability to dig deep and then make sure they come forward and get a job done. Despite the 6,000 seater capacity La Liga have allowed Barcelona to host match against Valencia at the Johan Cruyff Stadium, as long as they install necessary VAR cameras. Now, hold on. So they can start with the Johan Cruyff Arena stands. Now, break it. It's likely that Barcelona versus Valencia on match on September 14th will be played at the Johan Cruyff Stadium. Barcelona can now return to something that feels like home. It's not entirely home, but then Johan Cruyff Arena gives them something just like the Stadio Spotify Camp Nou. I mean, not the same thing, but it's something similar. On the chance for Barcelona to return the Spotify Camp Nou soon keeps on reducing because the work hasn't been fully done. I've said it several times. Barcelona, they want to go back to the Spotify Camp Nou. It's essentially their home. It's a place where they are happy to go and play their games on when Obobisa Jules Koundé in the French national team about the congested fixture schedules. Now, I think about the coaches, the technical staff who also have families in life. When you overconsume something, you value it less. Maybe it's why some matches generate less interest because there is overconsumption. And I think that my brand here, friend Jules Koundé, is making a point. Alejandro Balde will be out for 3 to 4 weeks. His last injury in a femoral bicep took a month. The club is being cautious with him when it comes to Alejandro Balde. I mean, bad news for football club Barcelona or the fact that Abrante friend Alejandro Balde is not injured. He is injured or it's not a good one for Abrante friend Alejandro Balde. And Barca hopes that he'll be able to get it. And this morning, I remember I was discussing with my colleague, Bismarck Owusu-Bempah, about the fact that Charlie, it is going to be really difficult when it comes to the management of players. Be to say, I mean, the kind of players Barca have to bring in at the left back to sort of give cover to Abrante friend Alejandro Balde, because I think he's an important player for everything that Barcelona wants to do. And again, getting an injury for him, I mean, he is a Barca fan. He thinks and believes that Gerardo Martin is good enough. Again, Gerardo Martin, who hopes that he'll be able to deliver, but I don't think Barca need that. Barca will need a better replacement for Abrante friend Gerardo Martin. Barca have announced that Alejandro Balde is injured. He suffers from a discomfort in the biceps and femorals in the right leg. So, I mean, not a good news for Football Club Barcelona. Laporta's Barca is a financial miracle. Since 2021, the club sent 337 million in transfers, far less than Madrid, Atletico Madrid, or Premier League giants. With smart signings and La Masia talent, they have built a winning squad. And I think I've said it several times. Barca have done something historic with respect to the management of how much they have spent and then gone in games in the Spanish La Liga since issues, when it comes to their financial fair play, the games that they've been able to play, how well they've been in the matches and signing money. I think Barca have done very, very well in that regard. They've done excellently well in terms of making sure they are in there in terms of being able to compete. I mean, aside all the financial stress at Barca for them, they've still managed to be able to compete. Flex high defensive line, once Barca's weapon was exposed at the Vallecas. Only Juan Garcia's brilliance avoided disaster. The match showed how rivals are finding cracks in Flex bold system and how Barca must adjust very fast. And I think at this thing we've spoken about it. If you meet teams that are very careful with you, that will set traps for you, that will bait you, and that will hurt you. That is exactly what we do. That is exactly what teams are going to do against Barcelona. They'll set traps for Barcelona. They'll bait Barcelona to fall in the trap. And they'll hope that they'll be able to get in behind Barca and hurt them. Like in that game against Vallecano, I remember I've said it several times. It was a game where Barcelona escaped by the skin of their feet. It was not an easy game craft for Football Club Barcelona. And they know that they are not going to get it easy. They know that it's going to be a very difficult one. Of course, my brand friend Kylian Mbappe has also been nominated for La Liga for the Player of the Month. Lamine Yamal has been there. My brand friend Kylian Mbappe has been there. My brand friend Nico Williams has also been there in terms of the Player of the Month. Our one was Spanish La Liga name. Coach of the Month, obviously Javi Hernandez and Ernesto Valverde are in there